Hey, welcome back to Leafy Life. I'm Susie, and this channel is my space to share my love of houseplants.
In this house, I am tending to leafy life, reaching green and bending toward the light. Leafy life, this is my leafy life.
So today I thought it would be nice to share my collection of houseplant books with you. It's just a few, so it's a short video, hopefully a nice, relaxing, interesting one to just take it gently today. I am recovering from a bug. I have a bit of a dodgy throat, so yeah, just trying to not overdo it, and I thought it'd be nice to sit and peruse some lovely leafy pages together. Hopefully there will be time to do a couple of nice planty jobs and give you some updates on some growth. Yeah, just some plants that I think you might enjoy seeing the progress on. So I'm going to go gather my books and get comfy and share those with you. So I've just come up to my bedroom where my basket of books currently is, and I'm going to talk you through them one by one. It's not a review, I'm just sharing what I have. I will talk you through where I got them, why I chose them, give you an insight into some of their pages and what they contain. Yeah. So the first book in this collection is actually a real treasure to me because it came to me recently and my dad worked on it. He gave it to me the other day and I did not realise that we had this in the family. So that was a real delight. So this was published in the 70s. My dad used to work in book design for several publishers like Reader's Digest, and this one is Mitchell Beazley. So it's by George Seddon, Your Indoor Garden. And yeah, it's a nice big hardback book. When it was published, it would have cost £7.95, and it's rather lovely. It's got lots and lots of hand-drawn pictures, lots of information. I'll just show you the contents page so we can see what it covers, but it describes itself as a comprehensive guide, obviously at the time, and obviously there are a lot more hybrids and cultivations now and more discoveries because that was many decades ago, but yeah, some of the basics are going to be the same, so it's nice to have a little look. It's got a history of indoor plants. I seem to have missed the contents. It must have got stuck. Hold on a minute. There we go. So we have the history, we have living with plants, the catalogue of plants, and caring for your plants. So when it goes through the living with plants section, it's nice to kind of see how they group plants or create little standalone focal points and things like that. And obviously fashions and trends have changed so much. But yeah, there's some nice photographs in here. And I do really like seeing things that are really familiar to me. Like this looks like a Ficus benjamina, which is one of my favourite all-time plants, which I have several of around the house. And yeah, there's so many beautifully illustrated drawings. Yeah, all hand drawn. So this book was made at a time when things were not so computerized at all. You know, we have the luxury of so much technology at our fingertips now to help us to get things where we want them to be, but so much of this was done by hand, you know, like laying down text and a lot of cutting and pasting by hand with scissors and glue to get the basic book into shape. So it's really interesting. I must talk to Dad more about it and how yeah, what his sort of actual manual sort of jobs were to bring the book together, and how he arranged his pages, and you know what tools were and things like that. Growing up, I had a lot of book blanks in the house to draw in, so they were just the actual physical book, but with nothing in it, and they were great for writing your own stories or just drawing in. There are also a lot of like photographic catalogues around that I just kind of used them to make cards for family and friends. I'd stick lovely gorgeous photos of penguins on a bit of paper and give it as cards and things like that. And there was just always a lot of paper around to draw on, and there was always calligraphy bits and bobs, so for doing titles and stuff like that, which I didn't use, but they were just a part of home for so long. Anyway, oh look, there's a lovely coffee plant. I have 2 of those downstairs. So yeah, just so many lovely little drawings. So this main big section of the book, there's just pages and pages of these drawings with a block of text about the plant and how to look after them, and it's just really lovely. I'm going to move on and show you some photos as well. I found it. This was the photo I wanted to show you. So these plates I grew up with, so it's really fun to see them in this book. It's just really fun discovering something. I'm nearly in my 40s and I've only just discovered this book that Dad worked on before I was born. And yeah, these plates, they still have a couple of them. We have smashed a lot of china in our history of our family, not through violence, but just through buttery fingers. We have lost so many mugs and plates and bowls. I know in some family households that's not normal, and you know, a breakage is a big deal and it's a rare event. But yeah, I'm fairly blasé about breakages now because they just happened a lot while washing up, or just yeah, clumsiness. So I'm amazed that these plates have made it and that we still have a couple left. But it's nice to see them in here. And Dad planted out this little miniature casserole dish. He brought this home, so his homework was to this is a book on this is a page on succulents and planting out little succulents. So his little project that he thought up was to get some little succulents and put them together in this little casserole dish. And then yeah, so he was doing this back at his house in London, I think their little flat together, him and Mum, and arranging it and photographing it and including that in the book. So that's really lovely. I think there is another photograph in this book that he took that featured, you know, one of his belongings or something, and I have to check with him which one it was. But I just treasure this bit. It's just a little taste of home, and you know, the things that you grow up with they're not like precious because they're worth a lot of money or anything like that, but they're just the everyday small treasures, you know, the things that you eat from and the things that you drink from, and the things that are just they've always been there and you don't question them because they were there from before you were born, and they just are. And so I feel like there are certain things, like I am not a hoarder, and I am, in fact, I'm a very thorough and regular declutterer. But yeah, there are certain things that are just such treasure because they've always been there and they are just a part of home. And even if your house changes and you move, that item is still home to you because you've always seen it, and it's just part of the background, part of the wallpaper of your homely feelings. Anyway, so even if these plates break and they've gone forever, there's still this photograph of them. And when I look through old family photos, I love seeing pictures of us when we were little and seeing people that we don't have with us anymore, and seeing us, you know, we've changed so much. But it's also just the little background things. So like you've got a photo of someone opening some presents on their birthday, and in the background there's a particular tissue box of the time that at that time it was just normal, that design, you know, diamonds on a Kleenex box, that kind of thing, a particular hairbrush on the floor, yeah, some mugs grouped where we've just had some cups of tea, and those mugs now are not in our lives at all because they've all been broken. But it's just things that were very everyday and inconsequential at the time. You didn't really think about them twice, but when you then see them years and years later, they just are really magical. Anyway, I've lingered on this page for a while and I want to show you a couple of others. I'd love to show you the whole book, but that would take hours, if not days, because it's yeah, it's quite comprehensive. I love this diagram about parts of a plant with the more scientific names for various things. So yeah, these are things I haven't necessarily known all of the terms for, so it'll be nice to get more familiar with some of these names. Some of them are obvious, but yeah, it's just nice to have that detail. And I'm sure there are many other books that feature this information, but this one is just very special to me. There are a lot of diagrams. I feel like this sort of age of book relied so much more on diagrams and drawings than photographs. And So here are the different sort of layers, talking through, like the cutaways, talking through all the different layers of this propagation box, and talking you through how to go about propagation of stem cuttings. Little avocado seed in a wine glass. I actually have an avocado seed that is now in leaf. It's just started to come through with its baby leaves. I'll pop a photo in here for you to see, but it's lovely because I've tried it before and then left it in the bag for too long, so it's worked, but then I haven't put it on soon enough and it started to rot because I left it in a dark place and didn't check on it enough. But yeah, now I have one that is all lovely. I potted it up a few weeks ago and it's got a leaf and it's very pretty. So even though that's like a basic thing, it is a lovely way to just get a whole new plant from something that you were eating anyway. It's lovely to then have a plant that you can nurture for a long time. There's a page here about plants without pots. So it's growing on tree, talking you through how to bind things onto branches and alternative vessels to grow in. There's a coal scuttle. There's a section here on holiday care, which is interesting, and different methods to look after your plants while you're gone. Capillary mat in the kitchen sink, plastic bags for enclosing the plant. Yeah, interesting. Oh look, there's a way to assemble some plant furniture, like proper, like almost like a raised bed. So very hands-on DIY-ish stuff. There are lots of photos interspersed with these pages as well, which give you a sense of the decor of the time. It's quite refreshing to see more dated interiors. It's quite comforting. A little break from sort of modernity. So there we go, that's that one. Very, very beloved to me. I will treasure this always. Very grateful. Thank you, Dad, for giving it to me. I'm going to show you the others after my drum lesson because time has got on, and I'm going to go out and bash out some beats and hopefully learn something and enjoy it and not be completely terrible at it. I love drums. I think they're fabulous, but I've never played them. I don't really know much about them. Right, yes, I'll show you the rest later. It is now much later, the same day, and I'm finally back with the camera to show you the rest of the books. I have actually just been looking back again at this first book of my dad's, and I found this page that features a peperomia. So it looks like some sort of caparata to me, and it's in flower. Yeah, nice to feature that. So I thought actually it'd be nice to look in the index and see if there's any other mention of Peperomia and Peperomia care. See if there are any others that it features. Peperomia, lots of mentions. Argyrea, Caparata, Emerald, Ripple. I wonder if that's the one from the photo. Page 106. Let's check. Okay. So it could well be the page I was actually looking at before, this one, 103, and then I'm just going to have to bookmark that with my 10-minute, and then, yeah, here we are. This is the proper mention of the emerald ripple. Heart-shaped and deeply corrugated, the leaves of this small plant grow in a dense clump on pinkish stems which are rarely more than 3 inches 8 centimetres long. The leaves are dark green with a silvery grey sheen. 6-inch long, slender white flower spikes, which are sometimes branched, are borne on long stems from April to December. It just talks about temperatures, watering and feed. So yeah, that could well be the same type that is in that photo. It's certainly very similar. And then other mentions of peperomia. So I said we've got okay, so we've got a photo of some here, which looks similar to the Rana Verde. I don't think it is a Rana Verde, it's definitely more corrugated, but another caparata type. And then I'm just bookmarking the index with my Murray Mint here, which my son gave me earlier for my sore throat. So where did we get to? Let's try out 172. So it's on this page about plant furniture, and it mentions Peperomia argyrea, the watermelon peperomia, number 5. Okay, so can we see it up in there? Oh, I see. So this planter it's got a couple of options. So you've got the plant suitable for cool partial shade and plant suitable for warm partial shade. So they've got a list of suggested plants for each of those conditions, and watermelon peperomia is just one of the suggestions that they've made for that, but they haven't actually illustrated it in there. That's, I think, this one by the looks of it. Anyway, so that's fun. I'm going to go back to the index. There's actually more mentions of different ones than I thought. So what have we not looked at? Let's go for page 164 or 167. So I have searched and searched this page, and I can't see a single mention of the word peperomia, but they are propagating leaf cuttings, and they're using an example of the African violet, which is the same method as you would use for a lot of peperomia leaf cuttings. But yeah, that might just be a little indexing inconsistency. And then page 167, it just mentions, it lists peperomia as something that you could propagate from seed. Among the plants which might be grown from seed using either ingenious improvisation or conventional equipment are, and yeah, so interesting. I have never explored peperomia seeds as a way to grow peperomia, but I would love to explore that. So on this double page spread, the need for light, they just mention peperomia here as an example of a plant which either needs or doesn't object to good but non-intense light. And then on this page about substrates, it just lists peperomia and what kind of substrate it appreciates best if you're making your own composty type stuff. I did not realise that hydroponics was something that wasn't like a brand new concept. So it's really nice to see. I mean, this book is from the mid-70s, and I had no idea that this was happening back then with houseplants. So it talks about soilless culture and layering and anchoring and nutrient solution and hydropots. And I had no idea. I really thought this was a very, very modern idea and name. So seeing that written up here is just kind of fun. It has a few pages on the yearly kind of cycle of various houseplants, and I don't think that this is something that we really live by so much with all our heating and stuff, and grow lights as well. Not that I have grow lights, but it mentions that Peperomia caperata will be starting its long flowering period if you've been able to provide the warmth it requires. So yeah, that's interesting. I think that's definitely more of a change for us nowadays, that we're all in warmer homes with more central heating. You know, central heating is so common. It's very rare for people in our country not to have central heating. I grew up without central heating in a much older house, and we didn't have double glazing, and we didn't have, we had like night storage heaters and little electric plug-in heaters and an open hearth fire. Yeah, we didn't have central heating at all. So I didn't have that until I moved out as an adult. But yeah, that is not necessarily normal. So yeah, it's just interesting spotting little changes like this over the decades. It also mentions peperomia on this page about bottle gardens. It doesn't use the term terrariums at all, but yeah, keeps mentioning bottle gardens instead. So I guess that was not really a phrase or a name that they used so much in the 70s. I wonder when that became the popular name for this type of indoor gardening. And then I think the last mentions of peperomia, which are rather lovely and they're illustrated, are in the general planty section. So it's got 3 types here. It's got the argyrea, it's got hederifolia, and it's got magnoliaefolia, which which is beautiful. So that's a close-up on the Algaria, the watermelon Peperomia. Okay, so then here's the close-up on the Peperomia hederifolia, the ivy-leaved Peperomia. I've done some research online, and I can't tell if this is Peperomia rana verde. To me, it looks exactly like the Peperomia rana verde, the leaf shape, the amount of veining, and it just looks like it really could be. And obviously names do change over time, but I can't see any link to that. It could also be Fraseri, but that's a slightly different shape, I would say. So if you know what hederifolia refers to or what ivy-leaved Peperomia refers to, do let me know, because I'm intrigued. But yeah, there's that one. And then here's the Peperomia magniifolia, which, also called a desert privet. This looks a lot like the Peperomia obtusifolia variegata, but obviously this is a drawing rather than a photo, so it's hard to be as exact. But that's what it reminds me of the most. Very lovely to see so many mentions and features of Peperomia in this decades-old book. And I thought it'd be fun to just show you. I've just spotted this one down here, this Polyscias. So I have one of these plants, which I've had for the past year or so, and I think it's beautiful. Mine is a variegated one, Balfouriana, dinner plate Aurelia. I haven't seen these much at all until lately, so I've had mine for the past year and been loving it, and hadn't seen it in any other shops or mentioned. No one else has ever mentioned one. And I was beginning to wonder why on earth they're not around more, because they're beautiful and fairly easy to look after. But suddenly they're popping up everywhere. I've seen them in IKEA, I've seen them in supermarkets, I've seen them in garden centres, and they're suddenly everywhere in all different sizes and shapes. So if you like this plant, they are suddenly readily available all at once in many, many places. So have a look around and see what you like the look of. They had some quite big ones in IKEA recently. And yeah, they've got some more sort of tree-like ones. They've got just slightly different forms, both the variegated one and the sort of deep green plain one as well. So yeah, I can recommend this plant, and it's really nice that it's in this book, because I think it was almost like a more dated plant, like, you know how plants go through trends and things, which I don't follow trends in anything really, certainly not clothing, not plants. I go for the things that I like that work for me. I am not a trend follower, but yeah, it is really fun to see that this is becoming popular again, because it's a beautiful plant and yeah, really rewarding to grow as well. Anyway, this has been a big sort of side quest really. But lots of fun for me. I hope you've enjoyed exploring this book in a bit more detail than I planned to. Obviously, I won't be looking at all the books in this level of detail, but this has been a bit of a treasure trove. I'm still kind of unravelling all the treasures of this book. It is quite, as I said, it's quite comprehensive. It's a lot of small text. There's a lot to look through. But yeah, I love it very much, and I will continue to just dip into this when I feel like it. And I've really enjoyed looking at all the different references to Peperomia. So yeah, maybe on another day I will choose another type of plant and go through the whole book looking for mentions of that. But yeah, I'll just be kind of getting to know this book over the next months, years. And now I really am going to show you the other books. So next up is this much more modern book called Moss. Lovely bit of gold there. Yeah, this is a lovely hardback book. This has been out a few years. I think it came out in 2018. I just bought this a couple of months ago, or was it? Yeah, maybe it was back at Christmas. It was around Christmas, I think, and we're now in March. It's a beautiful book. It's published by Penguin, Michael Joseph. It's by Ulrika Nordstrom. And I bought this because I was exploring terrariums. I was enjoying tinkering about with terrariums at the time, and I wanted to understand moss better because I realised I didn't know very much about it. I've always loved moss. I've always been drawn to mossy places, especially like this. Like on my honeymoon with my husband in the Lake District, we found a little foresty bit at the base of Cat Bells that was just completely enchanting. It was this amazing undulating carpet of moss amongst the trunks of the trees, and we just lingered there, just lying on it like cushions. It was just blissful and magical. Yeah, I just think moss is an amazing thing, and I wanted to know more about it. So I just had a little bit of a look online. I decided this one looked, I don't know, maybe it was the cover. It just seemed to call to me. So I chose this one, and it is really, really lovely. It's a lot. It's a lot to read, but and I don't get a lot of time to read, and I also do struggle to read. Like, I'm a good reader, like I have the ability to read, but my focus for reading is quite minimal, which is why I listen to a lot of audiobooks, because I like to have either a busy brain or a very not doing anything brain, and reading from a page doesn't quite kind of meet those requirements for my brain, because my attention wanders a lot. So if I can be, like, for example, driving and listening to an audiobook, or knitting in a very simple way and listening to an whoops, I just hit stop. Yeah, if I can be doing several types of taking things in at once, that's when my brain is at its most happy, unless I'm very tired, and then I need very little stimulation and a lot of quiet. But that's why I struggle to concentrate on a printed page. So I've been dipping into this, and I'm really interested, and there's a lot to learn. And it is really nicely presented, and a lot of really detailed information, some more scientific stuff, and yeah, beautiful, beautiful photos. But I know that it's going to take me a long time to get through the whole book, because of my attention span for printed text. So it is a bit annoying, because I love reading in theory, but in practice my mind wanders, and I can start a paragraph, and by the time I'm a couple of sentences through, I realise that I'm thinking completely about something else, things that I should be doing later, planning a meal, thinking about the things I should be doing, or just remembering something else that has happened. So yeah, I got to the school run early the other day and started reading through, got to this page and read the same bit about 6 or 7 times before taking in any of it. So yeah, I know I'm not the only one to have that kind of challenge, but it is a bit disappointing when you just want to enjoy a book and you have to work so hard at it. But that is not the book's fault. It is a wonderfully produced book, and this is not the kind of book I would be featuring as an audiobook. It's very much a pictures and soaking it up gradually kind of a thing. So yeah, this is just around with me quite often. Sometimes if I have an appointment, anything where I might be waiting around in a waiting room or waiting in a car to pick people up, that's a good time for me to pick this up and just take in a little bite-sized bit at a time. Yeah, let's see if there's a nice contents page for us to show you. There we go. So, a tribute to moss, a world of miniature plants, moss in the field, around the world, gardens and gardeners, outdoor moss projects, indoor moss projects, suggested reading. So there is a lot to this book to enjoy, and if you want to know more about moss, I would definitely recommend it. I think it's really, really full of excellent stuff. So it gives a lot of instructions and information about open and closed terrariums and kokedamas, and yeah, loads of really cool info. Oh, this is one of my favourite things in the world, is a tree trunk with moss growing up it. I just think that is the most inviting place to be. Whenever I go into a foresty place, I just seek out the roots of a tree, and I like to sit and just find some little nook that's all mossy and look up into the canopy. I love this bit about this guy collecting bare moss and forming a mattress and a blanket and lying there to sleep and having slept better than in the softest of beds. If you want to know more about moss, there you go. That's a good choice. There are other books out there about moss, but have a little look, see what you like the look of, and I would recommend this one. the last few in the basket, I think a lot of you will recognise these. So this is a renowned book. It's still considered to be one of, or if not the best houseplant book around. I've actually got 2 copies of it because I had heard from a friend that it was brilliant. And this particular friend, Catherine, has got, I think, all of the different ones in the collection. So this guy, Dr. D.G. Hesseon, if that's how you say it, has produced all these other expert books about gardening and fruit and just everything planty and flowery and lawns, all sorts. So these are really highly regarded still. They were first produced, I will have to check, but a few decades ago. I'm pretty sure it was like the 80s or 90s, but I'll just check. And they're still going, and obviously they've been updated. You can find different versions of them around secondhand. You can still buy them new. So I'm trying to think which way around it was. I think I have to check. No, I can't remember. One of them I got recently on eBay. Because I forgot what I was saying. So my friend has got all of the different ones and had recommended them to me, and so I decided to track one down and got one on eBay for a few pounds. That was a few months ago, and then I was in a charity shop a couple of weeks ago with my family, and I just thought, let's just have a look in the gardening section and see if they have anything about houseplants. And I was just rooting through, and there was a copy of this. As I say, I can't remember. I think it must have been that one, because I'm pretty sure this is the one I got online. This one is 1998. This one is 1991. So it'll be interesting to see how and where they differ at all. But yeah, they are a very different style to the one I showed you just now, obviously being a much more modern book. But their layout and their design isn't sort of probably today's, like, I guess, taste or style. But yeah, they're just absolutely packed with information and easy to find what you're looking for. I haven't used these yet much. Let's see, what shall we look up? To check out the Peperomia, obviously, and just compare, so you can see there are quite a few different ones. That's a favourite of mine. Scandens variegata. Prostrata is the string of turtles. Perescifolia. Loads. Oh, look, they've got magnolia folia as well. Clusifolia. Loads. So they're all roughly on the same page. There we go. That's where the Peperomia page starts, and you can see in both the versions of the book it is the same, and then it continues over the page on each of them the same. Various types, and a combination of photographs and illustrations. So that's fun. So I don't expect I'll be keeping both copies of this book, because I don't really need 2 copies, but I might pass one on to a friend, or I don't know. I already had one which I had sought out specifically, and then the other one, when I found it in the charity shop, I just thought it was a really good find, and I didn't want to leave it there because they're not the sort of thing that you find in every charity shop. So it was a little bit like finding treasure. So yeah. So I'm glad to have those, because they are great. And then last of all, I know many of you have this beautiful book, but I have just acquired it for Mother's Day. I had no idea that I was being given this, but my husband had decided a little while ago that I needed to have like a really good plant encyclopedia, houseplant encyclopedia, and yeah, he did some research of his own and chose this for me, and this was a lovely surprise. And it's beautiful. It's such a big fat book, and it's just gorgeous. Some really lovely photography, really nice clean design, and yeah, it's really nice to have something that is really up to date. So that complements all the others really nicely. And I love it. It's really nice to have this in my collection and be able to browse through it just for relaxation, or to use it to look things up. Obviously, with the dawn of the internet and just how everything is so so at your fingertips, you know, YouTube and just Google searches and sort of groups and forums. There is so much out there online to have your questions answered, but in my opinion, there's nothing like having a book of your own, and it's really nice as a break from screen time to look things up in a book, and it's just more relaxing than being glued to your phone and sort of trawling through endless options. So I like how they've grouped things, obviously by genus and then the types, and how they've given little simple kind of requirement stuff here and then given much more detail in these paragraphs, and it's just really nicely, cleanly laid out. So I think with this book, I need to put it somewhere, or I can just pick it up whenever I'm in the mood to look at something interesting, when I might have a few minutes spare in between things, when I don't want to be on my phone, don't want to be scrolling, I don't want to be just, you know, browsing things for the sake of it. But I can just enjoy the photographs and soak up some information. Oh, hello, Peperomia. Yeah, it's the kind of thing it's nice to dip into just for pleasure, but also to have to call on and just you know, look things up when you want to know some specific information. So yeah, a really, really gorgeous thing to have, and I'm very grateful for that. So, as is often the way, this video has turned out to be a lot longer than I planned for or expected it to be. That's mostly because of Dad's book being something that I ended up wanting to really linger on and explore a bit more. So that's been really fun. I hope you've enjoyed that as well. I didn't get around to any planty jobs today. Time ran away with me, but earlier on, before I went to my drum lesson, while it was nice daylight, I did go around and film all of the little planty updates that I'd been planning to show you. To do with some propagations and things like that. So I'll pop those in next as the end of this video, and I hope you enjoy seeing those. Over here we have the lovely parrot plant forest. It's doing well, it's looking nice and green and upright. I think it's settling in okay, and the little tiny buds that I showed you in the parrot plant video are getting bigger and more plentiful, so I'm just going to zoom in and give you a good look. Here we go. So here are the buds. You can see they now have some yellow bits, and they're just gradually getting bigger and more colourful. So I will give you regular updates on these, and if you want to see nice photos of them, you can check out my Instagram account, which I tend to do just photos over there, just when things are growing nicely and looking lovely, and just yeah, share pictures on there if you want to have other little updates besides these videos. You can see another one just behind there, and then these ones I'll just come down a bit, so they're all clustered in there. There must be about 1, 2, 3, 4, it's probably about 7 or more of them, so that's really lovely. It's really nice to see that they're developing quite quickly now. I think that's the only plant of the 3 that's got buds at the moment. Yeah. And I haven't seen any more thrips on here. I've been doing fairly regular little checks. I can't say I'm checking the entire plant as often as I could, but I'm just doing little spot checks to check on the leaves, and so far I haven't seen any more thrips, but I'm just going to keep those checks up, and as soon as I see one I'll squish it, and I'll keep up with the horticultural soap spray. But yeah, really nice to see these doing well. I do really like them in this spot. It's a little bit in the way, and I do want to get them a proper actual cover pot, but I mean, this casserole pot is doing the job just fine. But I'm just a bit fussy about plastic pots, and I don't really enjoy seeing them, and I find them a real distraction. So yeah, it'd be really nice to find something kind of like cheap but big, which is quite rare. It's rare to find big pots in charity shops or at the tip, but occasionally it has happened. While I'm down here, I can show you some other little updates. Under this little table we have the Peperomia pieces that I propagated in, I think it was it the first Peperomia video? I think it might have been. So yeah, they're all doing really well. So they're in these little pots of soil, and they just took a while to kind of bed in. And over the period of a few weeks, they did lose, or well, their remaining adult leaves became quite floppy, and I just gradually pulled them all off as they sort of flopped over because they were clearly not going to make it. Look at those, they are so cute. That is adorable. I absolutely love these little guys. I'm really glad I split the plant up and took a rest because it's giving me a lot of joy to watch these come up and to re-establish. So this is a classic like Peperomia stumpy stem where you've got these little bald patches, these little pale circles. So that's where the end of a leaf stem was attached and has died and come off and left that little circle. And as the whole plant grows up, obviously you get more leaf loss. So eventually these tiny leaves will leave a bare patch too, but yeah, this stump will kind of grow up and up. So in a more mature Peperomia plant, you get really long chunky bits like this. In fact, I will show you on my original Peperomia because it will be really nice to share the plant growth update with you anyway. So over here in my Peperomia corner, I've added in this little chair. I just gave away our really big Monstera. It's gone to a close friend locally who will be able to give it a lot more room. They have a lot more square footage in their house, and it looks really good there, and it's got a lot of space to grow out in all directions, so that's great. So that's left me with more space and light here by my Peperomia. So I've added this little stool here just for a few extra Peperomia. Oh, I did pick up a Pixie the other day. This was on my Peperomia wish list, and I got this one really cheaply, and it's really full and lovely. So yeah, I'm enjoying that one, and another one of these green drops because I just really love it. It probably will go off to live in a different room at some point, but I'm just enjoying it here right now. But yeah, this is my original and first ever Peperomia. And if you saw my previous Peperomia videos, I'm just going to change the angle. There we go. If you saw my previous Peperomia videos, you will have seen that this one was dealing with thrips, and it basically had a few of the adult leaves. I repotted it. I actually potted it down a size. Yeah, did a thorough repot because it was very overdue, that, and gave it fresh soil, but it needed a smaller pot. And at the time it was getting quite bare of the bigger leaves because of just the thrip damage, and they were getting quite pale. They were really pale green. It was struggling, and I eventually took off all of those leaves because I knew that there was so much new growth coming. The tiny little new growth had been coming and expanding, and that was a few weeks ago now, and they've all just, yeah, they're continuing to grow, but they've all just grown so much in that time. They're a lovely, deep, rich green, just how they should be. They're looking really good. And yeah, I wanted to show you the stumps. I think this one's got knocked into because there's a leaf come off there. There we go. There we go. You can see they have really woody trunks that are very much longer than the other one you saw just now. So I've had this about 3.5 years, no, longer, maybe nearly 4 years. I think about 4 years, which is really lovely because it was from when I first started getting into keeping houseplants, and this was the mother plant. I have this one over here, the same, which is doing well, and I have had multiple babies from it. I actually have a lot of leaf cuttings from this at the moment, which you saw me take, and I'm going to show you the update on those in a moment. But yeah, this one's just doing really well. It's filling out again and looking very lovely. So I haven't seen a thrip on it in weeks, so I'm feeling really good about that, and just kind of reveling in the fact that it's got past that horrible bout of pesties and is greening up beautifully and filling out again. So happy sigh for that one. So I'm just bringing you over to the windowsill here. I've tidied this and given it a little clear out the other night, which was always, as always, very therapeutic. And I was just checking on this one this morning, and I have a lot of different Peperomia leaf cuttings at the moment. And these are Peperomia Rana Verde, as you just saw. These are the older leaves from that same plant, which I took off and have been propagating. They're very yellow and they're not looking great in themselves, but they've been in this perlite for a while, and I just disturbed them this morning to look at their roots. They're doing so great. So you can see the perlite has really gripped on, but there are roots. It's so exciting. I've never rooted Peperomia stem leaf cuttings in perlite before, but just thought it was worth a try, and it's quite fun doing multiple cuttings in different substrates of the same plant and just see how they go. I'm actually getting some success across all of the different substrates, so soil, moss and perlite currently. I hadn't been keeping the perlite wet enough, so I was a bit worried that these were going to fail, but they've got more of a reservoir of water. I'll just show you. So yeah, there's a little reservoir of water in there, just so that the perlite has something to draw up to keep the roots moist. So I'm gonna just carefully put that back in there. I'll have to probably use a pencil or something and just create a hole for it, because I don't want to push those fragile roots down through the perlite without making the hole. But there we go. So I assume that one's the same. The reason I knew it was worth properly checking was that when I tug on the stem, it has some give. So sorry, yeah, it's got some give. It's not just falling out easy like it was when I first put it in. It's got some what is the word I'm looking for? Anyway, it's not coming. It's got some grip on the perlite, so that's really lovely. Over here I've got one of the same type of leaves, and that was in water. Lovely roots, so rewarding. I would say this has been much quicker than the perlite to put it in the water, and I would say easier to keep an eye on, because with the perlite you have to top it up with water, whereas and you have to check for that, but the water itself you can see, and it's just, I don't know, it's just easier, and it takes up less space because the little water things are narrower, but it's really personal preference and what you have to hand. And I would say that knowing that it works in all of these methods, so it works in water, it works in perlite, and I know it works in soil because that's how I've always done it. Yeah, I think that knowing that they can be successful in any of those, it just means that I can choose what I feel like doing. And I think most of the time I would pot straight into soil, but sometimes water. I think I wouldn't necessarily pot straight into soil during the winter, because I just think it's colder and it's harder for them to get going. So I think water during the winter has been really good, but that during the summer I might put straight into soil with these kinds. But yeah, it's either way. I think it is really satisfying to watch it in the water, and then you know that you've got the roots, and then you can pot from there, whereas when it's in soil it's a lot more hidden and it disturbs the roots to check on them. So I think I'm just thinking out loud, I think I would propagate in water first and then put up into soil, and I would probably just skip the perlite stage, but it's nice to know it worked. So yeah, it's a bit of a luxury, isn't it? Over here on the dining room windowsill, we've got one parrot plant cutting that's doing nothing, and the water has quickly got quite grimy, so it may not ever do anything, but I'll change the water in a minute and just see, give it another chance. But the other two, lots of cuttings, are doing really well. This was the top piece of my son's plant, which has got a little side shoot already, and roots. These roots were so quick to form. They took less than a week before they started pushing out, and so these have been going for a few days. They look kind of weird and floppy. They're quite translucent, and when you put them in the water you can see how feathery they are. But yeah, they're doing really well. And then this little pair of cuttings over here also has roots, so that was wonderfully quick. I'm gonna just pull those out for you to see. Doing really well. Look at that. You can see the longer bits, and then the little short stubby bits at the side, so more forming. So yeah, really pleased that they've been doing so well, and that they will now be their own little individual plants. So I will probably put all of these back into the same pot, the big jungle of mature parrot plants, because I think that would be rather nice. So yeah, that's them. The gerbils are enjoying their new cage. It's not so new anymore. And Badger's awake. Oh, hi, Silky. Just given them a fresh toilet tube, so they probably heard that, and they're gonna get nibbling in a minute. Hello. thank you so much for joining me for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it. And if you have, please give it a thumbs up and like and follow and share and subscribe to my channel. And I will see you next time. Bye.